The Denver Broncos beat the 49ers 11-10. Now, I believe this is the only 11-10 final score in NFL history.
No, second.
Second.
What was the first
ever.
one?
It was, couldn't tell you. It was a while ago, though.
That was a nasty game.
They are now
so
2-1. But the question is,
Tied for first in the division. Don't forget that.
should the Broncos
You kept
feel
saying you guys
good?
were outright first. Why
No, I just said we're first.
You just kept
place.
saying first.
Yeah, you just kept. That's why. Yeah, you kept leaving the. That's why I was
I would do the
confused. You
same
kept
shit.
leaving
I
the
would do the
tie
same
out.
shit.
No, I only
Not
did
gonna
that
lie.
because people were really talking
But I
crazy.
thought, so I thought you were just outright. That's was like, oh, okay, I didn't know.
Because someone retweeted me saying, at Andrew5A's, give it a follow. They were retweeting my tweet of saying that the Broncos are going to win the AFC West, and it was a Chiefs account, and they were clowning me. So I just had to make sure once we were tied for first place that I let people know we were in first
You're
place.
just like, yeah, we're in first.
Yeah,
that's it. We're in first.
But the question here is, should the Broncos feel good about this win?
You know why we should feel not good, but not bad?
The Broncos are the new Lakers. We talk about them every week at this point.
Well, it's because they're my squad, and the show.
You've had the agenda.
I mean, this was a
time.
primetime game.
They're
There's
my
been-
squad,
there's been
and
best
they're a
with
big
prime
name
time
team.
L.
They're in the media often. Too much for my liking, to be honest with you. That being said,
You've underachieved.
the reason to be happy is that the defense has been great. And that was a concern that Vic Fangio wasn't in town anymore, one of the better head coaches, defensive-minded head coach, and we were concerned of how we would react when the talent on the line was a little all over the place. Secondary, we had confidence in. Linebackers had been poor. Josie comes back and has an all-world performance. You have Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb who are getting to the quarterback at a beautiful rate. It's honestly, Randy Gregory has come to this team and been the second best defensive player on our unit. And I say second because Pat Surtain is him. Top 5 corner in the league, him.
right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has been
3 weeks in.
unbelievable.
I'm axing.
3 weeks in and an entire rookie season where he showed the flashes of
I'm just he
getting
didn't have him
there,
in top 5 last year, so I'm just asking.
no, he was not top 5 last
So
year.
3 weeks in, top 5.
The question is,
He has taken a big jump.
he has been otherworldly
He's not Trayvon
great.
Diggs, though.
well, I'm just he's played.
not.
You're really going to do that?
Trayvon Diggs is better. He's Elite 2 right now.
I'll tell you what, Trayvon has been great this season. You're right. He has better hands also, which is why, but I just think that Surtain's not as big as Diggs, and he just is always interfering with the ball. He had 6 attempts his way. All 6 hit the floor this past Sunday night. But the reason why I can't feel all great about this, as much as I want to feel great because our defense has been amazing, they've been backpacking, Russ is disappointing me to a degree. I can't lie. This offense has really been giving me a headache. This game was painful to watch. I was tweeting it.
Is he allergic to the middle of the field?
He is.
Do you think so?
I'm just asking you. I read.
Riv knows the answer.
I read some
Seems like
article.
it.
It just it opened my eyes. I'm asking
About
you,
this season or last season, years
His
prior?
entire career.
though. His life.
Listen,
Hey, listen, man. It was a
Small
great
guy.
article. I
Hard
wish
to
you
shoot
would
those
read
big
it.
linemen.
I wish you.
I don't want.
would
I
read-
want to be oblivious
You
to
should
it.
read it, bro. It's
But
great.
the reason why
Of course I
I
wanna be
can't feel
ignorant.
great is because we haven't had a passing touchdown. We have only had one passing touchdown this entire season.
Week 1.
We got into the red zone. Something to be proud about. 1 for 1 in the red zone. That was huge. But my God, Russ is holding on to the ball so long. The offensive line, it hasn't been great, I won't lie, but at the same time, it's not fully to blame. Russ is holding on to the ball way too long. He needs to trust himself. I was saying this to you a little bit earlier, and I think we spoke about it a little bit also. The receivers are not completely locked up. They're not. What it comes down to is Russ is trying to find the most wide open play, and he's thinking about it way too much. He's playing a little bit too tight. He's not slinging the rock like he normally does. He needs to play very loose, and he's not. And I can understand there's a lot of pressure, probably the most pressure he's ever been in because he took himself out of a situation with Seattle that was not ideal, and he wanted to call the shots for his own career.
Now, sorry to cut you off. I know you might ask it later, but do you think it is this pressure, or do you think it's rather just Hackett's scheme?
I think right now, where we stand, I think that I look more so to him being tight.
You think he's declining?
Where is this coming from?
You know, I just
I'm not finished.
I think the
I'm not
Broncos should
genuinely
be
not
excited
finished.
about their defense. I do.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate
I'm
that.
really just axing.
No, I mean, saying Russell Wilson's declining at the age of 34 when he's just had 2 bad games, because I'm not going to say 3.
He's 33 or 34.
He's 34.
34. Wow. Okay.
Is he?
Yeah, he's
He looks
34.
young. Looks young as hell.
Rightfully
Looks
so.
He looks really good.
The best
Very
Russell
handsome.
Wilson
handsome.
I've saw, arguably this entire season, was the last drive of the Sunday night game, where he was actually scrambling out of the pocket, extending plays,
Improvising.
The improvisation that he had, that he threw that ball to Kendall Hinton,
Yes.
where he's scrambling to his left, and Pete Carroll comes and says that Russ can't go left. The highlight of the game and the reason why we won was because of that play, his ability to scramble to the left, hit that throw on the run. That was a dot. We had a great drive, ended up getting to the end zone. Melvin Gordon capped it off, even though Melvin Gordon needs to be on the pine. He fumbled the ball well too many times, and Javonte is getting opportunities squandered from him because we constantly are trying to give the ball to Melvin. This offense needs to be better. I'm not going to overanalyze it. I understand that it's been bad, but I believe that with time, Russ will get acquainted and very well in tune with his guys, and we will be fine. The 7-5 Buccaneers were one of those teams that it took them a while to cook up. They were 7-5 when Brady first got there.
I don't think that team is more talented.
Arians' offense is more complicated than the one that Hackett has right now, no doubt.
More talented too.
Of course,
Brady.
Godwin and Evans is definitely better than what we have. But it took them 12 to 13 games to really figure it out.
After the bye.
It's been 3 games. We've looked horrible. I'm not going to come out here and just be in full panic.
Do you not value the opponents that you've played, though? Like, outside of the Niners?
San Fran, who everyone here...
outside of the Niners.
Everyone here except my boy Joel Dehls thought that the Niners would win. And then NBC,
thought the Niners would win.
No one had the Broncos winning other than Matthew Berry.
You pulled out an ugly one, and you got to get those.
I understand I'd pick the Niners and stuff, but
we all did.
Ultimately,
you did?
I'll just real quick start off with the Niners because this is just a sentence. Jimmy Garoppolo proved why they wanted to switch him at quarterback.
He looks so bad.
That's really why. I'm not saying that Trey Lance is any better because he didn't show much either.
Remember at the beginning of the season, you said if Trey Lance played like Justin Fields played, they would have got Jimmy G long ago.
I didn't know Justin was going to look like this.
And now,
season.
word.
Well,
but anyhow, moving on.
All I'm saying is that there's a reason why the 49ers moved on from Jimmy G.
I thought we was on the Jimmy G to the
Jimmy
NFC
G
championship.
No, I think he can still go there. I mean,
just running from now.
Giving Jimmy Garoppolo some leeway.
The garbage.
They did not give Jimmy G. They did not give Jimmy G a playbook until when he got.
Brother's been in the system for 3 years.
I understand, but there's definitely tweaks to the offense.
Yeah, but come on.
So I understand there's some rust there. He just got off his shoulder. He just had shoulder surgery.
Rust, fine. But he looked great against Seattle.
He looked like it. That man.
He didn't look great. He managed the game.
He looked a lot better than he did against Denver. You're right. He didn't look great. He looked like Jimmy G.
Seattle is one of the worst defenses in the league.
Denver's
Broncos a really good defense. This is what I'll say about Denver. And I'm not going to overanalyze it. I'm going to analyze it. That's just strictly. Should you feel good about this win? No. And the defense, they came to play. I think they've been playing well. Although their first 3 quarterbacks have been Geno Smith, Davis Mills, and Jimmy Garoppolo. They've been playing well. I think they'll be a good defense for the entire. There's no doubt.
Doesn't want to give you credit.
No. Listen, even still, he's not wrong there. We haven't played great talent.
Hey, well,
it's as simple as this.
I mean, Debo.
What I saw Sunday night was one of the worst offensive performances ever.
It's bad.
On both parts.
Yes.
On both parts, but more on the Broncos, to be honest. Outside of the
Niners
one
were garbage
drive.
too. What are you talking about?
The Niners, at least the Niners were able to get a couple first downs.
What did they do?
God.
No, they barely.
They were both terrible.
We had 10 punts. They had 7. So it's not like they were really any better.
Equally bad on offense.
The Broncos have scored 3 touchdowns in 3 games. And you want to know what my biggest takeaway was from the 49ers-Broncos game? It turns out that Russell Westbrook isn't the only Russell that's washed. Russell Wilson is washed too.
Oh, my God.
He took it to Westbrook.
That's fine.
That's tough.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Through 3 games, Russell Wilson is averaging 247 yards per game. He has 2 total touchdowns to 1 interception, 58% completion percentage, 81 passer rating. This is the worst start he's ever had in his career. The Broncos had 9 3-and-outs against the Niners, the most in Russell Wilson's career. This is the truth about Russ. He can't scramble like he used to. Visibly, he's lost his step. I think that's very apparent.
Is it?
I think it is.
It didn't seem apparent to me.
On the last drive, maybe.
Well, that's the only drive that he actually scrambled.
This year on plays outside the pocket, Russell Wilson is 4 for 14, 57 yards, 0 touchdown. He has 4 sacks. He doesn't pass it over the field. That's been him his entire career.
He had a couple throws over in the middle.
He holds on to the ball, which leads to sacks, and it limits the offense.
That's true.
With Russell Wilson, you can only play one way. And that's why no matter the offensive coordinator all of them have not been able to implement their scheme or system because Russ is unable to adapt. Nathaniel Hackett's offensive scheme is predicated on quick passes, getting the ball out quick, making quick reads, and that's never been Russell Wilson's game. Only 16% of his dropbacks this year have resulted in him being outside the pocket, a career low. And look at Geno Smith versus Russell Wilson this season. Smith has a higher completion rate, passer rating, EPA per pass play, EPA per attempt, third down conversion rate, sack
Geno?
rate, red zone efficiency.
Who the fuck cares?
This is a guy that the Broncos just gave a $245 million contract.
That's a lot of
And he's 34 years old. Russell Wilson has never been a pure pocket passer. And with his diminishing athleticism, coupled with the scheme that doesn't fit him, I don't see how Russell Wilson gets much better than where he is right now.
I just need to know what facts you have that show you he's a diminishing athlete.
It's just watching the game. You can he's
No,
lost
but
a
that's
step.
the thing. I'm watching the game, and I actually have no idea where this is coming from.
Russell Wilson, can you, off the top of your head, how many designed runs have they caught for Russell Wilson this year?
0.
It's one, just one. They're not using his athleticism. It's due to two things.
They want to keep
One,
him healthy.
That's one of them. The two is that he's not the same athlete. You know, Russell Wilson, when he was younger, was a lot like Kyler Murray, where scrambling outside the pocket makes something happen. And Kyler Murray is more athletic than Russell, even at Russell's best. Yeah. Russell doesn't have that. There are times when Russell tries to evade pressure, and he's caught up with. Defensive linemen are catching up to him more often. That's what I'm referring to.
Just haven't seen that.
Remember in the offseason when I told you, while the Broncos' offensive line might be slightly more talented, it's not going to do much for Wilson because he holds onto the ball. The truth about quarterbacks is that sack rates tend to follow quarterbacks throughout their career. If a quarterback takes a lot of sacks, it tends to follow them because the offensive line plays a factor. But there's a reason why Tom Brady has one of the lowest sack rates. It's because he gets the ball out quickly and he throws the ball away. Russell Wilson waits for things to develop. He holds onto the ball. So even with a better offensive line, he holds onto the ball longer and the sacks are going to be there. So even going from one offensive line to another offensive line, the sack numbers are still going to be there. And he's doing one of the poorest jobs in protecting himself from sacks. But that result is a bunch of factors. It's him holding onto the ball. It's him not being able to get out of it quick enough, which he used to be able to do. There's a reason why they're not rolling him out as often. And in Hackett's offense, like I mentioned, it's Shanahanian scheme with Rodgers. You saw the quick passing game versus the Bucs. We saw the Packers have two main drives where Rodgers just getting the ball out quick. That's never been Russell Wilson. That's not how he plays. He's more of a guy who thrives in a vertical scheme, and that's not Nathaniel Hackett's offense. So the only fix for this is if Hackett scraps up the offense to fit Russ, which in Seattle proved that once they did that, they got diminishing results, or hope that Russ can adapt to this scheme, which I doubt. You know, he doesn't.
You started this off saying you're not going to overanalyze.
Russell,
and you're doing
it's
a lot
not.
of overanalyzing.
Russell Wilson.
You compared him to Geno.
Smith,
No, I didn't. I didn't.
You said Geno Smith has X, Y, and Z better than Russell.
I just
You're
said,
doing that to
come
prove
on,
that
bro.
Russell isn't who.
I did that to prove that.
Like you could cherry pick names. I'm sure a lot of guys that Geno has better numbers than.
I did that to prove that Geno Smith, who is looked at as a far worse quarterback, is playing very good football in Seattle. I'm not comparing him to Russell. I know Russell
playing
Wilson,
better than Geno.
I know
than
Russell.
Burrow.
I know Russell Wilson's a better quarterback.
Okay. So
He's
like,
not
what's the
playing
point?
better than Burrow in the last 2 weeks. It was just that 1 week by Burrow. Let's ease down.
Burrow was good against Dallas?
Russell, yes, he was. And did you watch the second half?
Oh my God.
Did you watch the second half?
Burrow was not good
What are we
against
talking
They
Dallas.
scored
about?
17 points.
21-17 was the final, I believe.
They got going in the second half.
20-17. They kicked the field goal.
Russell Wilson not throwing to the middle of the field is not something new. It's like what he's been his entire career. And if you want, like Riv read the article on it, you can read it too. It's what he's been. This is not new.
His whole Seattle career.
And it's not even that they don't call plays that way, because there are some times where Hackett has these reads into the middle of the field.
He just doesn't.
And Russell Wilson just doesn't pull the trigger. Now, is that because he can't see over the offensive lineman? He just doesn't trust what he's seeing. It could be a combination, but he just doesn't pull the trigger. He's shown an inability to do that. And I just don't see at this point in his career, being 34, he adapts. And on top of that, he's a quarterback who thrives on a deep passing game.